Early in the 17th century in southeastern Mexico and on the Yucatan Peninsula, English pirates began cutting logwood, which was used in the production of a textile dye. English buccaneers began using the coastline as a base from which to attack Spanish ships. The pirates ceased to plunder Spanish logwood ships and started cutting their own wood in the 1650s and 60s, but pirates did not establish any year-round settlements. The Itza Mayas were the last of the Yucatan to be conquered, and their continued resistance had become a major embarrassment for the Spanish colonial authorities, and soldiers were dispatched from Campeche to take Nohpeten once and for all. Martin de Urzúa y Arizmendi arrived on the western shore of Lake Petenitza with his soldiers on the 26th of February 1697, which was to attack on the Itza capital. A waterborne assault was launched on the morning of March 13th. The city fell after a brief but bloody battle in which many Itza warriors died. The Spanish suffered only minor casualties. The Spanish bombardment caused heavy loss of life on the island. The surviving Itza abandoned their capital and swam across to the mainland, with many dying in the water. After the battle, the surviving defenders melted away into the forests, leaving the Spanish to occupy an abandoned Maya town. Martin de Urzúa planned his standard upon the highest point of the island and renamed Nohpeten as Nuestra Señora de los Remedios y San Pablo Laguna del Itza, which means Our Lady of Remedy and St. Paul Lake of the Itza. The Itza notably fled, dispersing to Maya settlements throughout the Petén. In response, the Spanish scoured the region with search parties. Canek was soon captured with help from the Mayan ally Chamac Shulu. The first British permanent settlement in Central America was founded in 1716 in what became the Belize district, and during the 18th century established a system using black slaves to cut logwood trees. This yielded a valuable fixing agent for clothing dyes and was one of the first ways to achieve a fast black before the advent of artificial dyes. The Spanish granted the British settlers the right to occupy the area and cut logwood in exchange for their help suppressing piracy. In 1786, Britain would finally declare the part of Central America under its sovereignty a colony. Before then, the British government had not recognized the settlement as a colony for fear of provoking a Spanish attack. The delay in government oversight allowed the settlers to establish their own laws and forms of government. During this period, a few successful settlers gained control of the local legislature, known as the public meeting, as well as most of the settlement's land and timber. Throughout the 18th century, the Spanish attacked Belize every time war broke out with Britain. The last attack was in 1798, when the Brits repelled the Spanish fleet in a short engagement with no known casualties on either side. The anniversary of the battle has been declared a national holiday in Belize and is celebrated to commemorate the first Belizeans and the defense of their territory. Rewinding to 1713, and eastern Honduras was still yet to be subjugated by the Spanish at all. Petch reduction took place in the territories of Buenaventura in the Olancho Valley in 1739, Sagatpueque in 1767, Rio Trinto in 1797, and Franciscans, which had accelerated the influence of Spanish culture and the loss of traditional Petch culture, and by the beginning of 1805, the Petch people were displaced from Cabo Cameron to their current location along the mouth of the Aguan River. In 1803, Spain and later Mexico would start inviting Americans to move into what is modern-day Texas to form a buffer zone against certain Native American tribes. We'll get back to this later. In 1808, a certain Frenchman named Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Spain and destabilized not only Spain but also Spain's overseas possessions. This turn of events set off a crisis of legitimacy in Mexico City. The city council, a stronghold of wealthy criollos, began promoting ideas of autonomy for New Spain and declaring New Spain to be on an equal basis to Spain. Their proposal would have created a legitimate representative and autonomous government in New Spain, but not necessarily breaking from the Spanish Empire. That idea came in the mid-18th century when Napoleon had placed his brother on the Spanish throne and had enacted the Bourbon reforms. With the reforms, the crown sought to increase the power of the Spanish state, decrease the power of the Catholic Church, rationalize and tighten control over the royal bureaucracy by placing peninsular-born officials rather than American-born, and increase the revenues to the crown by a series of measures that undermined the economic position of the American-born elites. The reforms were an attempt to revive the political and economic fortunes of the Spanish Empire, but many historians see the reforms as accelerating the breakdown in unity of the empire. The crown removed privileges from ecclesiastics that had a disproportionate impact on American-born priests who had filled the ranks of the lower clergy in New Spain, provoking a number of parish priests to become involved in the insurgency for independence. In the hierarchy of the Spanish Empire, those with the most power were the peninsulares, or people born in Spain. Immediately below them were the criollos, or ethnic Spaniards born in the colonies. Up until 1812, the parts of Central America this video is about formed the Captaincy General of Guatemala within the Spanish Empire. In 1821, a Congress of Central American Criollos in Guatemala City composed the Act of Independence of Central America to declare the region's independence from Spain, effective on September 15th of that year. The process was bloodless, with no resistance from the Spanish authorities, as the Governor General Brigadier Gobino Gainza, along with all the royal governors of the 5 provinces, were retained in office as executive powers, pending a full transitional to local rule. Independence was short-lived, for the conservative leaders in Guatemala welcomed annexation by the First Mexican Empire on the 5th of January 1822. Central American liberals objected to this, but an army from Mexico City occupied Guatemala City and quelled dissent. But further political turmoil ensued when the Emperor of Mexico dissolved the Constituent Congress in October 1822 and jailed the legislators. Several members were jailed simply for expressing their disagreement with the Emperor of Mexico. When he eliminated the elected Congress, he established an appointed national board in its place. The dismissal of the Congress, the dictatorial style of government, and the absence of solutions to the serious problems that the country was going through increased the conspiracies to change the system. Eventually, the emperor was forced to abdicate, leading to a debate about how Mexico should constitute itself as a nation-state. Eventually, the elites of Mexico decided on a federated republic, which was the preferred form of government for most Mexican provinces. When Mexico became a republic, it acknowledged Central America's right to determine its own destiny. On the 1st of July 1823, the Congress of Central America declared the Absolute Declaration. The primary provision of this declaration was the absolute independence of Central America from Spain, Mexico, and any other foreign nation, including any in North America, and the Federal Republic of Central America was formed. It was around this time that we start to see a steady flow of runaways from Belize going to Guatemala and down the coast to Honduras. Later, in 1835, the conservative forces in Mexico suspended the constitution of the First Mexican Republic and replaced it with the Siete Leyes, meaning 7 laws. The 7 laws transformed the Federated Republic into a unitary state known as the Centralist Republic of Mexico. They placed the power entirely in the hands of Mexico's dictator. So American families in Texas rebelled, creating the Republic of Texas, which later unified with the USA. In 1844, the British government declared a new protectorate over the Mosquito Kingdom and appointed a consul general of the Mosquito Coast. The proclamation was motivated by the state of anarchy in the Mosquito Kingdom after the death of Robert Charles Frederick, but also by the American annexation of Texas and the British desire to build a canal through Central America before the United States did. Then Mexico disputed much of what was Texan land, and the USA fought a war with them over it in 1846, traveling back in time to when political differences and tensions between Guatemala City on one side and Quetzaltenango and other parts of Western Central America on the other caused the borders to be drawn for an autonomous region named Los Altos. The independence of Los Altos from the Central American Federation was officially proclaimed on the 2nd of February 1838. Nicaragua separated from the Federation on November 5th, followed by Honduras and Costa Rica, causing the Federal Republic of Central America to dissolve in civil war. But Los Altos experienced a forcible reincorporation into Guatemala in January of 1840. The official end of the civil war came only upon El Salvador's self-proclamation of the establishment of an independent republic in February 1841. At the same time everything I just said was going on, the mahogany trade peaked in Europe, but the supply in Belize, a main exporter, was becoming scarce. The Mosquito Kingdom became an alternative source to Belize-based traders and wood-cutting companies who acquired concessions and land grants from Robert Charles Frederick. In 1837, Britain formally recognized the Mosquito Kingdom as an independent state and took diplomatic measures to prevent the new nations that left the imploding Federal Republic of Central America in 1838 to 41 from interfering with the kingdom. In 1847, the protectorate I mentioned the British having over the Mosquito Coast was extended from Cape Honduras in the north to the mouth of the San Juan River in the south, including San Juan del Norte. That same year, the caste war of the Yucatan began with the revolt of native Maya people of the Yucatan Peninsula against Hispanic populations that were both white and mestizo, called the Yucatecos. The latter had long held political and economic control of the region. A lengthy war ensued between the Yucateco forces in the northwest of the Yucatan and the independent Maya in the southeast. Due to this, Mexico started to lose the war with the USA horribly, which was started by how badly centralism worked out for Mexico. A certain Mariano Paredes staged a coup against the government of the interim president Jose Joaquim de Herrera. On the 28th of July 1846, Mariano left the presidency to command the army in battle against the invaders from the United States, and Vice President Bravo took office. On August the 4th, the Federalists, headed by Jose Mariano Salas and Valentin Farias, led an uprising causing the resignation of President Bravo. Mariano Salas took office as provisional president in August. Later in August, he re-established the 1824 Constitution and called an election with the Constitution again in force. Centralism ended and the federal system was restored. Meanwhile, Nicaragua protested and sent forces to San Juan del Norte, which the Mosquito King, George Augustus Frederick II, replied to with an ultimatum demanding all Nicaraguan forces to leave before 1848. After the ultimatum expired, Mosquito British forces seized San Juan del Norte. On March 7th, Nicaragua signed a peace treaty where it ceded San Juan del Norte to the Mosquito Kingdom, who renamed it Greytown. Later on in 1848, Mexico finally lost its war with the USA, with the latter gaining far more than just Texas. With the Mexican-American War concluded, the USA tried to get Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Honduras to form common front against the British, who were now threatening to annex Tiger Island in Honduras' Pacific coast. After British and American forces nearly clashed there, both countries reprimanded the commanders of their forces there and concluded with a treaty in 1850 where the two powers pledged themselves to guarantee the neutrality and equal use of the proposed canal and not to quote-unquote occupy, fortify, or colonize or assume or exercise any dominion over Nicaragua, Costa Rica, the Mosquito Coast, or any part of Central America, close quotes, nor make use of any protectorate or alliance present or future to such ends. The USA interpreted this as the immediate British evacuation of the Mosquito Coast, but to the Brits it only bound them to not expand further in Central America. This, unsurprisingly, did not prevent several incidents from happening in the following years. It was also unclear if it applied to Belize. In 1853, 1853, a new American government attempted to have Britain leave Belize in 1856. The Dallas-Clarendon Treaty between the two governments recognized Belize territory as British. The Sarstoon River was recognized as the southern border with Guatemala. The Anglo-Guatemalan Treaty of 1859 was signed, setting the present-day western boundary and temporarily settling the question of Guatemala's claim on the territory. Only the northern border with Mexico was undefined, with the British Empire's attention seized by the ongoing Crimean War and the firm opposition of Britain's merchant class to a war with the United States. The British government only protested but didn't get what it wanted.